Hi, we are live this Tuesday afternoon. I am here with Melissa, who is on her phone and she's holding it because she doesn't have a holder and she was having tech issues, but she persevered and she is here with us. Thank you. I appreciate you
Oh,
doing this.
you're welcome. Hello.
So, today we are talking about teens and their moods. We know that our teens and tweens can be moody. We often attribute it to something that's either happening in their social lives or hormones, but food can also be a factor. Am I
Ye-
right?
Yes, you are.
So, Melissa's going to tell us all about that. But first, she's going to tell us a little bit about herself and her work. And then we're going to get into how food can affect your child's moods. Thank
Okay.
you. Welcome, Melissa.
You happy to be here. My name is Melissa, as you heard already. I'm a holistic health coach, and I work with clients basically trying to improve their health and well-being, holistically or integrative, whichever you understand the meaning of. Which means that I look at diet, exercise, stress management, sleep issues, and we see where you might be having an imbalance, and we try to straighten that with lifestyle and diet changes. I work mostly with people with autoimmune disease, but I do not limit myself to that. So I have clients that are just regular people who want like a diet and lifestyle change and need somebody like as a guide to help them live a healthier lifestyle. So that's what I,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, we've been hearing a lot about mental health crisis with youth, especially with the older youth.
Mhm.
How does food, does what they eat affect their mental health? And if it does, how?
Okay, so when it comes to mental health, the brain is not only the problem. So every time somebody thinks of mental health, they always think, okay, well, something is wrong mentally or in your brain. So when you look at the root cause of mental health, it's not only coming from your brain. So the whole, like all the research is showing now that other changes in other parts of your body, example, your gut, since we're talking about food, can actually influence your brain. So how I want to look at this is I want to give you kind of two examples of how the gut and the brain are connected, like in what we see in research, and then you can kind of see the connection, and then we can kind of jump into what foods kind of influence you and why these foods are important. So, the first thing I want to talk about is if you've ever heard about the physical connection between your brain and your gut, which is the vagus nerve. I don't know if anyone has ever heard about that, but there is a nerve that actually, runs from your brain all the way into your gut. And this nerve actually helps with digestion, but then it also ensures that there is a, I would call it a conversation constantly happening between your brain and your gut. So that's the first connection that we're going to touch on. And then the second way is that chemically. So think about it this way. And I read this in a book. I gave you a like a list of a couple books that I thought were really good reads. And an
Mhm.
example of books is that if you have a headache and you take a aspirin or whatever you take, Advil, you swallow it, it goes into your stomach, it's digested and it goes into your bloodstream, and the chemicals from it actually go to your brain and stop inflammation. So right there you can see that whatever you eat, whatever goes into your digestive tract or whatever, can get to your brain, and vice versa. Whatever chemicals your brain give off can actually get to your gut. So that's just two little ways that you can look at it, as in we are not just, you don't only have, oh, I have a brain, I have a digestive tract, and oh, I have a liver, but everything somehow is connected. So whatever you do, whichever part of your body, that's like a whole integrative way of, health, of thinking in general. It is connected in some way. So it kind of goes back to what I do with holistic health. Like something somewhere can affect something else. So that's how, you can look at food, and food, like whatever you eat, can affect and go back to affecting your mood and your brain. So um when you think of your, the chemicals in your central nervous system, and it's giving off like dopamine and serotonin in that, and all of those chemicals that you hear when, that are related to emotion, a fascinating thing is that 90% of serotonin receptors are actually found in your gut. And a lot of people don't know that. So that's another way that you can look at it. So what affects your gut in terms of chemicals, or what disrupts the chemicals, or what, overproduction or underproduction of chemicals in your gut, can actually throw balance off with your mood. And like not only your mood, depression, and any other like mental illness. So those are just a little ways that you can see a connection there. So then we can get into now another thing, which is gut bacteria. So how your gut is the real connection is really gut bacteria. So gut bacteria, I know you've heard about this before. People have been talking about healthy gut for a couple of years now, because of all the research that we've been doing with gut health. So gut bacteria actually help to produce these chemicals. So dopamine and serotonin, they actually play a part. So if your gut bacteria is not balanced properly, and you don't have enough good gut bacteria in your gut, the chemical balance can be off, and this also affects your mood. So that's the kind of my quick science behind it, right?
I love the overall of the science. So now we can get into the nitty gritty. But I loved hearing that, because I am not a science person, so I didn't know that there was a nerve connecting all the way from the brain to the gut, and I think that I may not be the only one. You mentioned depression. Before we get into that, I want to remind people that if you have a question for Melissa, just go ahead and pop it in the comment section, and she will address it live. You mentioned depression. I've read a lot about that, depression and nutrition, and especially in reference to teens and tweens. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah. So the thing about connecting all of this to teens and tweens, okay, teenagers, you're at the age where you are at most risk for developing eating disorders. Like, teens are actually, as far as research goes, they are high risk for eating disorders. And also, you're at this age where you're highly influenced by, adults or peers or whatever. You have a lot of stress going on in terms of peer pressure, changes in your body, academic expectations, and all this whole bunch of highly stressful stuff, right? So if you are at a point where you don't want to eat because you're concerned about your body image, you're in school trying to get really good grades, you're also moody because your body is going through a whole bunch of hormone changes. What's the connection there with food and mood? So if you're not eating, and you're not getting enough nourishment and vitamins and minerals and antioxidants, and your gut bacteria is totally imbalanced, then unfortunately many teens and tweens, what they do is they want to eat ice cream, chips, sweet things, and that makes them feel good. But in the short term they feel good, but in the long run they're actually making it worse. So making their mood worse, and actually probably adding to depression worse, and more depressed, like more symptoms and that kind of stuff. So that is the connection there. So you're as a teenager, I feel like you are at like that point where the adults in your life probably need to have you understand that why it's important to probably eat healthy, and you understand the connection between food and why you need it, not just because you only need to eat food, but you need it to grow, you need it for your brain to develop, and you need it to actually feel better, even though you're at this point where you really, really are feeling miserable because of all the things that you're stressed out with. So it's kind of like, that's the connection that I think is most important. So teens at that age, it's a crucial point where we need them to understand that how food can actually help them, in other words, and not kind of like, it's kind of shy away from it because they're concerned about their body image or whatever, where food can actually be more helpful than they think. So food has a purpose. It provides the body with energy, think and grow and just to exist. But then you have to understand the amount of food that you eat as a teenager depends on your age and your height and how much you might need, your activity level. And right now we have a whole bunch of teenagers restricting food because they're concerned about their body image and they don't understand that they actually need it, and it will actually in the long run make them feel better. And a lot of times when you develop like depression at a young age, it actually goes into adulthood if it's not addressed, right? And if you start off eating unhealthy from you're young, then chances are as an adult you'll probably continue your unhealthy eating behavior. So I think that's where, like at that age where you hit like 12, it's important to kind of show your teen like what they need to eat and how they need to eat, and that eating healthy and why do you need probiotics or prebiotics or vitamins or minerals, and how it affects your brain, in other words your mood.
Okay, so I know that as parents, the natural next step is for us to ask, okay, which foods, which specific foods contribute to depression, et cetera. But I want to look at it the reverse way, because you said we should talk to our kids and let them know that teach them that food is helpful. Look at it that way. View food in a positive manner. So if we're viewing food as a positive manner, what kind of foods are mood boosters or energy boosters that we can tell our kids, so that we're always giving them positive images about food, rather than saying, don't eat this because it'll make you depressed, but do eat this because it'll help boost your mood, or it'll help, do this, which balances your bacteria, which will help you feel calmer or something.
Okay, so first I would have to start with probiotics and prebiotics. So if we're going to go back to like gut bacteria, the thing is, probiotics, everyone, you've heard the term probiotics before. Nobody really understands what they are. It's kind of like eating live cultures. Why would you want to do that? Well, it actually helps the bacteria in your gut, like perform better in other words. So yogurt, kefir, like kombucha, we've all heard these terms before. You can, like I would say, if you're going to choose a yogurt or a kefir or a kombucha, you try to not get things with a whole bunch of added sugar, because I don't want to say it, but obviously sugar is one of the things that we want to stay away from, unfortunately. Yeah, so if you're going to try and add something like this into your teen's life, how about in the morning for breakfast, you say, a lot of teenagers don't want to eat breakfast, first of all, which on the list of how to improve your mood, I have, please eat breakfast.
Okay.
Because it's so important to eat breakfast before you go off to school. You jumpstart your day. So how about a yogurt and a fruit? Like once you're having, I would say, a balanced meal, all your meals should be balanced. Like I try to get protein, fats, and some carbs in there, yogurt and a balanced meal. Like if you incorporate that, or a smoothie every morning, then you get in your probiotics, right? And then prebiotics are foods that actually help feed your gut bacteria. So your gut bacteria likes to feed on all the things that teenagers don't like to eat, which is fiber, vegetables, and all that kind of stuff, right? So how about you try, and I don't want to, like with clients, I don't say, okay, well, you need to eat 6 cups of vegetables a day. I do not do that. I say, how about we try to get in at least 1 serving of vegetables a day, because we're coming from people who don't want to eat any at all. A good trick is I try and give my kids a smoothie every day, and I put some vegetables in there, kind of hidden, and fruit and some yolk and some yogurt. And I think to myself, well, at least I got them to have at least a serving of, some fruit and some vegetables, so I feel kind of accomplished. I'm like, all right, fine, I did something good today. So that's a good trick. So if you can get your teen, and smoothies can actually taste very good. Like if you, I'm not saying to add sugar, but if you get a yogurt and you put some fruits that they like, mango or strawberries or whatever in there, and you add, like maybe some spinach or something, sounds scary, but a little bit at a time, you'd be surprised in the end how they kind of like change their approach to, oh, that's gross, I'm not going to do it. And, so that kind of gets you as your serving of probiotics and prebiotics for the day. The next thing I'm going to have to say is probably omega-3s. So foods rich in omega-3 fatty acids actually help to fight inflammation. And a lot of the times, I'm going to just throw this out there because I really, believe inflammation is really the root cause of any disease and illness. Like there's inflammation in your gut for gut health. They're now saying that Alzheimer's is caused by some kind of inflammation in your brain, or like there's a lot of research going that way now. And heart disease is inflammation in your blood vessels, that kind of thing. So omega-3 fatty acids are really great for fighting inflammation, and that so try and have a fish meal every week with your kids, 1 to 2 times a week. I mean, obviously salmon, we've heard that salmon, is great. Leafy greens actually have omega, walnuts has omega-3 in there. Any fatty fish, sardines. So if you can try and have a salmon dinner, say every Friday, I'm going to have a salmon dinner. At least that you're getting some kind of omega-rich food into your diet. Vitamins and minerals also. Now, this is a lot. I send you a cheat sheet. So it would be good. I guess at the end of this, you can put it up or whatever, because it's a lot of vitamins and no one is going to remember this. Sometimes I don't remember them.
So just before we move on, the cheat sheet in pieces is in the comment section. So as you're watching, you can check out the comments, or you can come to the comments later and you'll see that Jessica, the amazing Jessica, is putting up all of these points. So that's why I love when you send them ahead of time. Thank you for that.
Okay. So vitamins like B vitamins, especially, so B9, B12. I mean, you can find these in legumes. I said I have it sounds corny, but I know people have heard of this, like Meatless Monday, where I do like a nice lentil soup, or I do like a curried lentils or something. So I know that my kids are getting some kind of folate or B12, like like fiber, at least once a week there. Like I'm not trying to be perfect with this. I know that people are stressed out and like, oh my God, you eat all these things, how am I going to do it? So what I do is I organize my week. I'll talk about this at the end. And I have like a meatless Monday or a taco Tuesday or whatever. And I kind of do it that way. And I kind of try and fill in, all the different food groups that way. So on Monday, I know what I'm going to be cooking. So if I'm cooking curried lentil wraps, I know that's what's happening and everything is ready to go. And you're not like stressed out trying to figure out what you're going to eat. So like, for B vitamins, like that's, you get them from nuts and seeds and, like legumes. You can also get a lot B12 now. The thing is with B12 is a lot of people are deficient in B12, especially vegetarians, because you can only really get it from animal protein and animal products. So shellfish, fish, meats and all that have B12 in there. Another one is B1, B6. As I said, all this is in the comments. So if they're not fun, they can read it. So vitamin A, which we hear of all the time, which you can find in, like in your sweet potatoes. I think I have all that there. Vitamin C, which everyone knows. Again, if you make your smoothie in the morning and you put a bunch of berries in there, you're getting a lot of vitamin C just from that alone. And then obviously like minerals like iron, magnesium, potassium, and zinc. All of these minerals and vitamins help with brain development and brain and inflammation and fight inflammation in your body. So they are all tied to helping to manage mood and depression, and help in the production of like all your happy, like hormones and all that kind of stuff. Another great thing is spices and herbs. So there are spices and herbs that you can add to your diet that actually make you feel better, like turmeric, like everyone talks about that, and fighting inflammation. That's a great one. And oregano. I mean, there are teas that I also drink. Again, when it comes to herbs, I also recommend that people, if you're on medication, you should always check with your doctor before you introduce any new herbs into your life. Like there's holy basil tea that I drink, and it really helps with mood. It's like a mood booster. Again, do not go and buy holy basil as a herb without speaking to your healthcare practitioner. I'm not encouraging that anyone start any new regimen without speaking to someone first, because herbs can be very, very powerful, right? I think I think we've touched on everything. I think if you go back to the list that I sent, then you'll see the whole list of everything. So it's really omega-3s, probiotics, B vitamins, and adding certain like spices and herbs. And those are probably the best mood boosting foods that I would go for.
So let's say it one more time for Jessica. Omega-3s.
Omega-3s, B vitamins, vitamin A, vitamin C, minerals like iron, zinc, magnesium, potassium, and then adding spices and seasonings and herbs. Don't shy away from eating like food that actually tastes really good. Like if you're gonna make don't be afraid. Like go and buy some curry powder and make some curried lentils. Like look up, there's so many recipes online. Like that's the thing. Like kids are like, this. The first time I gave my kids lentils, they were like, "What is this?" And then they tasted it and they're like, "Oh, this is actually good." So you make your food. Like don't give them like some boring steamed broccoli and be like, "Here you are. You have to eat this." Unfortunately, it doesn't taste good. Make it taste good. Like there's things that you can do to your food. Like the internet is amazing with like all these recipes and stuff. Find something that actually tastes good and they will probably eat it then. Like don't make it some boring steamed carrots. Here you are. Like
I don't want that.
Want that. Make a stir fry, put like some shrimp or chicken or something nice in there, get a nice sauce and put, you know what I mean? There's so many things you can do to make your food taste better and make people want to actually eat it.
Okay, so you gave us a lot of information. I know there's some parents out there going, what? Can't I just give them a vitamin supplement? But one hint you gave us is that something you do with your family is that you give them that morning smoothie. And in the morning smoothie, they are set off. And you said you can check off certain vitamins and certain foods that you want them to have because they've had it in the smoothie, which you have made taste good because you put whatever fruits that your children happen to like, and you can make those ahead of time and put them in the refrigerator. They do keep for more than one day. Can you give us a couple of other hints like that so that any parents watching can say, okay, I can make a smoothie. I got that. I can do that. I feel good. My child is off for the day. They have a percentage of the requisite vitamins. Then your kid is gone for the whole day, especially if they're a teen and they're older and they're high school and they come home for dinner. What's a good dinner that tastes good, that will have some of the other stuff?
Okay, I'm gonna give you first I want to kind of go through like just like 4 little pointers that I think is for everyone to follow. Like the first one I spoke about before was to eat breakfast. Like that is super important. Like I do not I'm not you don't need to eat breakfast person. I will never be. And everything that I've ever read about or research or ever says that breakfast is super important. Number 1 meal in days, kickstart your metabolism. Like tell your team that they're always trying to figure out how they're supposed to lose weight. And they think starving is the way to lose weight when it really isn't. Like all that does is mess up your hormones in the long run and actually eventually make you gain more weight. So the thing about it is teens are it's about body image at that age, right? Eating breakfast, whether it's a yogurt or a smoothie, is the first step that I'm going to say that parents should probably make sure that their teen does. The second one is really try and pack a lunch. Like if you're going to go, I know it might be, I don't know if it's considered not cool to go to school with packed lunch, but think about it this way: making your own lunch is always better than eating whatever the cafeteria has, right? And the thing about it is, if you encourage them to do it themselves, like what do you want to have? They make like a sandwich, a chicken sandwich with lettuce and tomatoes and whatever else they want to put in there. Chances are they're probably going to eat it because they made it themselves and it kind of excites them. Like, oh, I did this. I'm going to eat this. And you can, go to the store and buy, healthier choice snacks or whatever it is, but, take a fruit with you. And I think that is a great step as well. I think you'll get away with packing lunch with younger teens, but as soon as they get a little bit older, maybe it might not be the thing to do. I'm not sure because my daughter is only 12 and she still will take lunch. So I'm not sure what's going to happen when she hits like 14 or 15. She might be like, Mommy, no, I'm not doing that. But
so I have a tip. I have a tip for parents, and it works with all ages, but especially with the younger ones. So the older ones, in a lot of schools, they can leave campus for lunch, which is one reason why they don't want to pack one, because they get to leave campus, and that's a big deal. But if you pack a healthy snack, a late afternoon snack, if they're not eating the healthy lunch, they are very hungry come late afternoon. And whatever that healthy snack is, they're going for it. So you can make sure that it can taste good and be something they like. But if it's nutrient packed, they're probably going to eat that late afternoon snack, that, after school, before practice or something. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a good one. I'll keep that. But again, trying to get them to actually take something from home is important, and then also trying to explain to them that missing meals is just not a good thing. Like if you're going to go the whole day and have breakfast and then wait until dinner to come and eat, again, you think in your mind you're doing the right thing because I missed meals. And this whole diet culture of like fasting and like eating like some lettuce and whatever is not the way to go. Like I wish I could probably sit down in every household and kind of like sit there and be like, look, eating, like consecutive, like 3 meals a day is probably the best way to go. 3 well-balanced meals a day. And when I say well-balanced, like meals should always have protein. That's number one important thing. So when you make a smoothie, you have to figure out, if you don't want to put yogurt in your smoothie, you need to have some kind of protein that you're going to eat along with that smoothie, because we don't want, protein helps our blood sugar not to spike, right? So that's really important as well. So if you're going to pack a lunch, you're not going to pack just a carb for lunch. You have to have some kind of protein in there, some kind of healthy fat, and the carb, and a carb, obviously. So a sandwich is a great thing to pack, because you're going to have protein in there. You can add some little veggies like tomatoes and lettuce, and you're going to have like like your carbs, which is your whatever bread of choice, right? The third thing is dinner. You asked about dinner. So my thing with dinner is always try to have dinner as a family. Now, before you even think about what you're going to eat, even if you're ordering out, I obviously prefer and I recommend that you cook at home, but that doesn't always happen. And that's hard for people, right? But if you're going to eat together, the reason I say this is because teens especially are super stressed out. You're their family. Sitting down to eat together, we do something in our house where my husband says, okay, everyone tell us what the highlight of the day was. You'll be surprised the things that you hear. And at the first few times he did it, my kids were like, what? Why? I don't know. It was, and then now they actually remind us to do it. They're like, we didn't share our highlights. So we sit there and we have dinner and, we talk about what happened. And then they will sometimes tell you if something not so good happened. And this way, kind of like, teens are, as I said, super stressed out. They want to share. They might be grumpy and they're like, leave me alone. But everyone wants to share what they're feeling. Mm-hmm. So sitting down with your kid at dinner time and just kind of like having casual conversation, I would say is probably the number one thing that I would recommend. Obviously, I'd like if you would cook your meal at home and also help. And if they can help, it would be good too. Like if your child is old enough, like as I said, now I mentioned my daughter, she helps me cook now. And I explain to her, all right, can you cut up these vegetables, or can you do this? And she really gets involved, and they like to eat what they made. That's the important thing. Like they will actually taste what they made. So even younger kids, they can come in the kitchen and you say, oh, let's make some healthy muffins, and they want to stir the batter or whatever, but they're going to try it because they made it. So that's also a great tip. Bonding as a family, as I said before. And also, when you eat as a family, you lead by example. So I think one of the number one reasons is mommy is eating those vegetables and she eats them every day. Eating vegetables is becomes like a regular thing that they've seen. So it's not like a thing like, what are you know what I mean? Like if you are interested in changing your family's health, you have to start with yourself. You have to show your kids that you're supposed to eat vegetables are not strange. Like they are supposed to be eaten. Yes, I eat, like I have a healthy meal in front of me. Like if you show your kids that, then they'll understand that is how they're supposed to eat. But if you are going to go to McDonald's every day, chances are your kids are going to eat McDonald's every day. So that's, sitting together and eating dinner has so many benefits. And the sad thing is not many people do it anymore. It's kind of because everyone has such, kids are doing their homework, you're on a work call. But if you can find, even if it's not every day, like try and see how many times a week you can actually sit down together and have a meal together. And I think that's probably one of the best things. And then the fourth thing I would say is have your kids participate in choosing foods at the grocery store. Like you can go in. The number one thing I tell clients is learn to read labels and see how much sugar or how much fats or oils or whatever is added in food, and always choose the ingredient list that's the shortest, with the things that you understand that are on there. So if you go in and you want to choose a granola bar, don't choose a granola bar that, oh, that one looks really good, but it has 100 ingredients that I have no idea what they are. Choose a granola bar that if you were at home, you could take those ingredients and actually make it yourself. That means that it has things like that you're supposed to eat, not things that are just artificial flavors and, preservatives. Take your kids with you, show them how you shop. Say, look at all these green vegetables. Which one do you want to try? Kind of thing. And then when you go home, try and make a meal together. Try and do it once a week. You know what I mean? Like try and find, I guess the time is very hard. And maybe, even if it's not once a week, once in a while, you say, let's cook something together. I think those are probably my 4 tips. But I know I'm going back to your question. You did ask what can you do? Meal planning, like what I said, is the best thing to do. So like you have meatless Mondays. I prepare, like I've chosen at least, I would say 7 meals that I know taste good and I know my family will eat, and I kind of rotate them. It sounds very boring, but if you want to eat healthy and you want your family to eat healthy, you have to figure out and you have to plan. Like people say, I don't have time to plan. How do you even do that? But planning actually makes you save time, because on the day when you're going to cook, you stand in the kitchen, you're like, I cannot do this. I'm just going to order food, But if you plan from Sunday night, this is what we're going to do this week. This is what I know I have to buy at the grocery store. And you say, okay, we're going to have meatless Mondays. We're going to have a lentil curry dish. A big one, I think that this will answer your question, is Taco Tuesday. Now, it sounds corny to some people, but if you do, it's easy. If you do Taco Tuesday, you get some ground chicken, you go and you get, some tortillas, and you add, you get some beans, and you get lettuce and tomatoes, and you get a well-balanced meal. You teach your kids about variety, because there's a bunch of stuff there on the table that they probably wouldn't eat, and you put it there in front of them, and they make their taco or they make their, their tortilla or whatever. It's fun. It becomes like an event. And kids like that. You have colorful food. You have, I make my own salsa. I mean, I'm not asking anyone to do that, because, people are like, who has time for that? But I do that. And, I have my lettuce, and I have beans, and I have corn, and I have all these things. And my kids look at it and it's fun. And they decide, I'm piling everything in there. I'm going to try it. And they tried. And eventually they actually are like, if I forget something, they're like, where are the beans? And this is something that they didn't want to eat before. So I think that's an easy thing for parents to do. It sounds hard, but when you think about it, you can go to the store, get some tomatoes and chop them up. You can get some lettuce and just wash it and chop it up. You can get a can of beans and just warm it up. It's not a hard thing. It's a bunch of different things that you put together, and I actually love it. Like I have clients that I recommend Taco Tuesday to all the time, and it's always the number one thing. It's always the number one thing that they like out of everything we talk about meals. Taco Tuesday is always the winner. Another easy thing that I think parents can do is a stir fry. So probably the first time you do it, they're gonna say, "Well, I'm only picking the chicken out. I'm not gonna eat those vegetables." Yeah, is that? But you can try it, and you can find like if you add a little bit of, there's different sauces you can put in there. But again, when you go and you buy like a sauce for your stir fry, please read the ingredients. Try and stay away from ones that have too much things that you don't know how to pronounce. That's what I say. If you don't know how to pronounce it, that means you probably shouldn't eat it, right? And get some broccoli and some carrots. You can start with that. Maybe some onions if you're adventurous, and chop them up. get some chicken breast and chop it up and just put it all. One pot meals are the best and the easiest things to do. So you put it in a pot, stir fry it up, and dinner is ready in just half an hour. I try to cook everything I do in 30 minutes. And that's how I recommend it to my clients, because they say, I don't have any time. But the thing is, it's really about planning. So if you know you're going to be cooking a shrimp stir fry or a chicken stir fry, you have to take that chicken and shrimp out to thaw out and leave it in your fridge. And then when you get home from work, it's already thawed out and you're ready to go. You chop your vegetables that you need to be there. You chop, you throw everything in one pot and mix it around. You can do it in 30 minutes. And I know because I've done it 100 times. I do not sell things to people that I haven't done before. So
I love that, because we want to do what you do, right? We want to make sure that we're doing what the nutritionist does. Then we know it works. We are at the end of our time together. I have a list of questions and stuff. I feel like this could be a 4-part series rather than one conversation.
No, but you know how I am. I could go on for like days.
No, but I in the comment section, even after the conversation is over, we're going to keep putting up some of the links to things that you've sent us so that people have the information. I'm going to ask you 2 things together, and you can answer them in whichever order you want. The one is, since we're coming to a close, what have we forgotten that you want to make sure people remember? And the other thing is, my question that I asked you, and you said that lots of people ask you this, is how often can we partake of treat foods or the naughty foods? Or, you mentioned that sugar is naughty. I love sugar. I could never get rid of all of it. So how often can we do these things?
Okay, the first question you asked. Okay, one thing I don't know if I mentioned, but I want to mention. I'm not trying to say, and I want everyone to understand this, I am not here saying that you can treat a mental illness or depression with food only. If you or someone you know has depression or is suffering or has the signs of depression, you should always see your doctor. Like, food obviously helps, and your lifestyle, exercise, diet, lifestyle, sleep obviously helps depression and helps your mood, but it is not the only thing that you need to do. So I just want everyone to understand that. Like, I'm big on food. I think food is great. It solves a lot of problems, but it does not solve every problem, in other words. So, like, always talk to your, like what I said with herbs, always speak to your healthcare provider. How often should you eat sugar?
Tell me.
I told you this before. I cannot tell you, okay, one day out of the week. I'm not going to say that. Okay. My rule is you try to do the best you can every day. You have your breakfast and your lunch and your dinner. Sometimes you missed lunch, and sometimes maybe you ate out for dinner, but you try the best you can, and eventually it becomes a habit. And you want to eat these foods every day, and you would say, oh my God, I ate really good for this whole weekend. I didn't even have to make an effort. Like, it becomes the norm for you. And then you say, okay, I'm having dessert today. When you start eating healthy, you will be surprised how less your sugar cravings become. And sugar is really addictive. And this is what I told you before. So a lot of the times when people crave sugar, it's because something else is going on that they need to address. And a lot of times when people start eating healthy and their body's nurtured with, like, full of nutrients and the vitamins and minerals and the antioxidants they need, the sugar cravings actually get a lot less. And then you find them saying, I actually don't want my usual Snickers bar at 8:00 in the night, or I stopped eating ice cream. Like, I've had so many clients say to me, I don't know when last I had ice cream, and I actually didn't miss it. I'm not saying, oh, never have dessert. I'm actually having a Christmas party that's full of dessert in a few days. And I will allow my kids and my family to have dessert, but then I'm also at the same time teaching them how to manage, like how do you eat, the rest of the days, like making sure that you're eating balanced meals and giving your body what it needs. So I know you want me to put a number on it, but I honestly cannot. I feel like if you start eating this way, are healthy and giving yourself what you need and the nourishment you need, you actually don't feel to eat as much dessert as you used to. And yes, there are going to be days where you do feel to eat dessert, and I think that's okay. So if I'm eating great all day and I had my breakfast and lunch and dinner, and then at the end of the day I'm like, you know what, I feel for something sweet, I think that's okay. Because once you've learned to balance your blood sugar with your eating, and once you've learned to eat like balanced meals, eventually you will understand that, and you won't eat as much dessert as you usually would. Like sometimes people get a smaller slice of cake and they feel satisfied. It's because you're not having that sugar craving that you used to have before. So I don't like to restrict people. I like them to, like what I was saying with teens as well, is I like to teach people to, like listen to their body and what their body needs. And if you're craving sugar every day, it's not because you love sugar, it's because something else is going on. Like you should not crave sugar every day. And if you're not craving sugar every day and you feel to eat dessert like once or twice a week, that's okay, because you know that you can do without it. I hope that helps you. But
I love that last point. If you can do without it, then when you feel that you would like it, it's okay.
Yes, exactly. It's kind of like, I don't want to bring up alcohol, but it's kind of like that. Like it's kind of like you have these sugar cravings and you want sugar every single day, and all of a sudden you change your lifestyle, your eating pattern, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, when last did I even have dessert? And you're like, I don't feel for it. And then one day you feel for it. You know that, okay, today I just feel to have dessert. And I know that I don't have to, but I really feel to. So that's what kind of changes. And I hope that's helpful.
That is very helpful. Thank you. Thank you. And I know there's somebody else out there who's like, oh, good, I don't have to totally give it up.
No,
thank you, Melissa.
Welcome. It's not about, I don't like restriction. I'm not going to say, you know what I mean? Unless you have like a sensitivity or intolerance. Like I'm not going to say you can never eat sugar again. No, I do not agree with that. I think that you can listen to your body and know when, I feel to eat dessert today, and that's okay, because I don't need it every day. But if you need it every day, then that's something that you need to address.
Okay. Thank you. There are so many helpful tips in the comment section. I encourage everybody to just peruse that section and get some of those tips. I saw a recipe in there, so there's some good stuff in there. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time. We're probably going to ask you back because there's so much going on here, but we're glad that you spent time with us today.
Okay, no problem. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I know it wasn't easy with you holding your phone up and everything.
No, my laptop for next time, because I think my arm might be stiff.
Thank you. And thank everybody for sticking in with us and watching this video. Bye-bye.